mashed potato peas, kale and mozzarella cheese, and yogurt with granola and orange. I'm going to talk about Generation Zapped. James is going to talk about the Cantos of Ezra pound. And
I'm not a rant about them. I'm sorry. It's just that's the way it is. That's what they deserve.
These sweet dogs are going to eat some pepperoni.
That's pepperoni for pups.
I'm going to do that. So, who wants a pepperoni?
Yeah, give it. Okay, come over here, please.
There we go. So that's taken care of. So, Generations Out. I've talked about this video before. I hadn't realized it when I borrowed it from the library. I was like, is that the one I've seen or whatever? But anyway, it was. And I'm glad I borrowed it again because it's a very important DVD to watch. Yeah, everyone should watch this. And right away, the most memorable thing is the woman with breast cancer, where she had her cell phone, and so that's very memorable. Because I guess a lot of women they'll carry their cell phones around in their bras because it's like
that kind of
right
just says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, but the thing that I got from this time that I remembered watching it was them talking about the blood-brain barrier. And apparently they said in this that the blood-brain barrier protects the brain from toxins. So, but they found that when somebody uses a cell phone, like they injected a person with dye in their blood, right? And then they found that when they used the cell phone, the dye would be in the brain. So somehow the blood-brain barrier was leaking when they
maybe
used
it's
the cell phone.
electromagnetic.
Yeah,
Is that what they were
that's
saying?
what they're thinking. So, because they're saying, well, we're affected by that sort of thing. We're electric. Sort of.
I wonder if that contributes to the fentanyl. Oh, God.
What?
The fentanyl crisis. Using
How?
a cell phone. Well, it could make the stuff more get into your brain more and stuff like that. Of course, I don't know.
No idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. While I was watching it, I was thinking, well, like they were talking about the people who are sensitive to EMFs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, well, it might just be that if you're already, the body can only fight off so many things at one time, right? So maybe it just, some people their bodies just can't fight off anymore, so it starts making them.
Well, there's sensitive and sensitivity. So, with what I've got, bone marrow cancer, the literature seems to indicate 30% of people with bone marrow cancer suffer from the symptoms of hypercalcemia. What is that? You get too much calcium. It's a bone marrow cancer. You get too much calcium from your bones breaking down from within, from the cancer. And the body, the kidneys can only get rid of so much at a particular time, so the body spreads it around via the blood, I guess, into various organs of your body. Mm-hmm. And, I think all that, the 30% is just an indication that 70%, and almost all of that 70%, 50% out of the 70%, in other words, would be guys. Now, I wasn't that way. I could sense that the various symptoms you get, hypercalcemia, muscles firing, visibly firing, heart murmur, sensitivity to cold, so calcium buildups in the Have you really it's calcium buildups in your lymph nodes, stuff like that. Guys are told to suck it up, sissy, and put up with stuff, and they tend to suppress symptoms. That's what you do in sports. You don't like a lot of stuff that you got to do in sports. Just for example, when you're running long distance, you suppress the fact that you're feeling really miserable, and stuff like that. So when they say susceptible, those are just the people who complain about it.
Yeah.
But I think everyone is susceptible.
Yeah, but no, they're talking about people who they have really like a lot of them would have a headache that comes on when they're exposed, so they have to really change their lifestyle so that they're exposed to things or whatever.
Maybe some people just fight through headaches and don't report them. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying, that there's probably a lot more than.
I think everyone is, to some extent or another.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a great video to watch. It's something everyone should watch. The filmmakers did a great job, not only supplying information to people, but I mean, you're watching the shots like a woman has her cell phone, right near her pregnant belly and stuff like that, and you're watching all these things, and
in the first trimester, that could be just absolutely horrible.
And yeah, so you're watching all of this, the visual information just it makes you go or whatever while you're watching this. You're thinking, oh, that poor baby, or whatever. You're watching little toddlers playing on a tablet or whatever, and you're thinking, wow, it's a different world. And they're talking about Wi-Fi in the classrooms and stuff like that, and I never really would have thought about things like that at all, but it makes you wonder. And frankly, if I were a parent, I wouldn't want my kid going to school anymore. I wouldn't want them exposed to that. I just
The funny thing is, where are the results? Are kids getting really smarter? I don't see them. I don't think it's happening. No.
So anyway, it's an interesting DVD. It was worth watching the first time, and it was worth watching the second time too. So you can go ahead, talk about the Cantos.
No, that's for not just cell phones. That would be for computer.
Oh yeah, they were talking about that sort of thing too. Yeah, it wasn't just about cell phones. It's about different.
All I'm going to say to people is,
devices.
you're going to be on a computer. Start doing some research. If you've got access to a computer, even at a library or something like that, you have no excuse for not having the knowledge, at least, of a PhD owner.
Yeah.
Owner of a PhD. There's no excuse anymore.
Like I used to see people in the grocery store and their kids were playing on the cell phones and stuff, and I thought, wow, they managed to keep their kids entertained, so they're not crying they'd be right near the candy and they wouldn't even notice it. They're just too busy, doing whatever with the cell phone. And I thought, oh well, that's kind of handy for a parent. And so I never really thought about it before I started watching things like this. And I imagine few people really think about it.
It's always bothered me. You got to watch out what you expose your kids to. You can, as an adult, especially someone my age, get a bad sunburn. It's not going to affect you. They say that people who have real trouble with skin cancer had bad exposures when they were kids. That's the thing. You don't give cancer a long lead-up time. Cancer's like a little snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with time until you can't handle it. So the thing is to make sure, this is one of the things, to make sure that you don't give the cancer any longer than necessary to start snowballing. That's one of the things I got, one thing by Ezra called The War on Fun. And he says, studies indicate spouses don't suffer from secondhand smoke. They're non-smokers. It's not an issue about spouses. It's about the kids that you're exposing through secondhand smoke.
I don't even know if
those are the studies I want to see. What happens to kids who are exposed to secondhand smoke, not to spouses. What are you saying?
I don't know if that's true.
What?
Who is this guy that says that?
Well, he's a right-winger. You know, like he's very unpopular with left-wingers because he's, for example, he was saying, Iran, this is a while back, 10 years ago, Iran is going to bring back, it might have been like special taxes on non-Muslims. And everyone was saying, no, they aren't. Well, they're not now that he's talked about it. Mm-hmm. But he gets a lot of things wrong. The war on fun, you know, like war on closing down smoking, you know, in public places and stuff like that. That's got to get done. I can remember when I was a kid walking into old Greyhound buses back in the late 50s and 60s, and it was like you were walking into a wall of smoke. Boom! I didn't know what it was, but it was miserable. You feel it in your eyes. It was just like chewing away at your eyes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Unhealthy. You can't let stuff like that happen.
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, if it's not fun for everybody, it's not fun. It's like a lot of the time Elvis will be picking on Opie, and it's a lot of fun for Elvis. You know, he's having so much fun. He says, yeah, it's really fun. But Opie's not having fun when Elvis is doing that. Opie says, leave me alone.
Yeah. That's a very good point. That's one of the troubles with freedom. John Locke, who is kind of like the philosopher, is at least credited with being the first kind of like modern day philosopher of democracy or something like that. Locke. One quote's been attributed to him, and it might be attributed correctly. Your freedom stops at your nose. You don't have a right, maybe not even there, to go sticking your nose into other people's business. You don't have a right to go around doing this, that, and the other thing. You can yap, that's what he's saying, but you don't have a right to go messing around with other people's freedoms. Okay, and that's for the freedom kind of people out there. The Donald Trump supporters and so on and so forth. Incidentally, he did try this trick about the tariffs in his first year of being in power. 25% on steel, Canadian steel, 10% on aluminum, or vice versa. And it gained 1,000 jobs in steel production in the United States. Lost 75,000 jobs in terms of manufacturers who use steel and aluminum for raw materials. Brilliant. And he flip-flopped, they said. No, he's actually not as dumb as he seems. Is he going to do it this time? Well, it's going to lose more than 75,000 jobs. It's 25% across the board with every raw material used. You captains of industry out there, you better get control of your freaking ship, you stupid idiots, and tell him you get on the gravy train here and stop messing around with our gravy train. He is not good for the United States. Definitely not good for American industry. And you guys in the American military, you keep track. He's talking about cutting back your funding. That's because he's a Russian agent, you stupid chimps. How you ever let it get to this point, I don't know. You've got military intelligence there. You would have known even before he was elected. The first time that he was a Russian agent, you stupid chimps. Okay, so...
Ezra Pound.
Ezra Pound.
It's right there.
Ezra Pound. Did we finish Canto 5 last time, guys? Do you even care? Yeah. They're saying yes with their tails, but they think I'm asking them about chow. Do you guys know what food is? Yeah, I hope he knows what food is. Do you know what food is, Elvis? Yeah, he knows it's up on the table. Anyway, not right now, okay, guys? Got to take care of the... Okay. Okay. Yeah. There. So this is the last half page of Canto 4. We got 100 more to go. More than 100, folks. Stick with me. Stick with this guy. It's like trying to ride a crazed Brahma bull. Père Henri Jacques would speak with the Seinen on Raku, Mount Raku, between the rock and the cedars. So that would be a place in Japan. Polhonak, I don't know what that is. It's definitely not a Japanese word, nor is it Chinese. Anyway, as Gyges on Thracian platters set the feast. So, Gyges was, as I recall, a Lydian king. I think he or a namesake was actually mentioned in the Assyrian annals. Gugu, I think they called him. Now, when we say Gyges, and we spell it G-Y-G-E, really that Y in there is...
That's good.
It's more like an umlauted U. Like if you see German, U with two dots over it, you're supposed to umlaut it. So you say a U, but you kind of purse your lips like you're saying E. E. No, you say E, while pursing your lips like you say ooh, ooh. See how you purse your lips when you say E? You don't. And so it's E. So it's probably better to put a U there. And so that's what the Assyrians did. Gugu. I believe it was. Double G. That's the way they render it. For like a G-U-G-G-U, as I recall. On Thracian platter set the feast. So Thrace is actually a place in kind of, well, it's a little north of Middle Greece, I'd say. So we've jumped around from a French name. I'm not sure where Seinen could easily be Japanese. Chinese. On Raku, that's got to be Japanese. Mount Raku. Polonak, I don't know. That seems almost like a native North American name. Gyges, so we got a Lydian king. So where is Lydia? Western part, I should say, Anatolia, which actually means east in Greek. I believe it means where the sun rises. So another old term for Anatolia is Asia Minor, which just means small Asia. And really Asia is named after a place in western part of present-day Turkey. But it's eventually called Asia Minor, and then it's called Asia. I guess you'd call it Asia Major, Big Asia. But when we talk about Anatolia, Asia Minor, we're basically talking about present-day Turkey. Thracian platter, so now we're over to presumably something that was imported into Lydia from Greece. Kabistan, Tereus. Tereus is a Greek mythic or legendary figure. It is Kabistan's heart in the dish. Vidal, that's not Gore Vidal. Or Ekbatan, so here, that's the kind of west central part of Iran. Jumping around here, upon the gilded tower in Ekbatan, this guy had nothing against repeating. Lay the god's bride. Lay ever. Like, is that, can you get more old-fashioned than ever? Lay forever or something like that? Lay always? Lay ever? No. Waiting the golden rain.
by Garonne. So that's one of the major rivers in France. As I recall, it's the major one in the southwestern part of France. Southern part is the Rhone. Up in the north, it's the Seine. And in the west, it's the Loire. So it's one of I'd say the big four. It's thick like paint. Procession, what was that?
Nothing.
Procession. It's Ave Regina. Regina is, we've got a place, capital of Saskatchewan here, probably after Queen Victoria Regina. Regina is Latin for queen. Moves like a worm in the crowd. Adige, a DJ, I'm not sure how to accent that. It would be a DJ. It's a place in northeastern Italy. So this guy's he gets around. He's like the Beach Boys in early 1964, maybe late 1964. He gets around, round, he gets around. You get a case of whiplash from him whipping around the world. It's not your fault. Thin film of images. Across a DJ, or Adige, by Stefano, Madonna and Portulo. Oh, God. As Cavalcanti had seen her, so Cavalcanti, I believe, is a character out of the Italian Middle Age. The centaur's heel plants in the earth loam, and we sit here, there in the arena. And I was talking about this before, maybe just after the camera cooked out. Yesterday, you don't say we sit here, there in the arena. It's either here or there. You know? You've heard the expression, it's neither here nor there. In this case, it's either here or there. There's no middle term, shall we say, or something like that. Okay? ... Which leads us into Canto 5, you lucky critters out there. Okay. Great bulk, huge mass. Thesaurus. Now, a thesaurus actually is Greek, or derived from the Greek for treasure. So the meaning that we got in English is this derived meaning, which is a treasury of word synonyms. Okay. Ekbatan. Oh, jeez. I wish this guy. Ekbatana is the better way to refer to it. He just gets these things on his brain. A lot of this stuff, it looks as though he's got all this stuff stuffed away. But then you start realizing his brain is spinning back on wheels, and it's the same thing over and over again. Have you noticed that? Ekbatan, he's mentioned it several times now. Kind of like a monomaniac, but also a scatterbrained monomaniac. He's got a whole bunch of things in his head, but they keep on recurring, and he can't get out of that kind of association of things. Ekbatan, the clock ticks and fades out. Okay, what does that mean? Does it run out of, is it a wind-up clock?
Maybe.
Maybe fades out. You wouldn't really say fade out. Not that good an image. The bride awaiting the god's touch. Okay, so we've got a great bulk, huge mass, thesaurus. Those three things are separated by commas. Then you've got a semicolon. Ekbatan, comma. The clock ticks and fades out. Oh, okay. But those first things, those separated by commas and semicolons, they're just telephone listings. This guy loves the telephone listings. I don't love telephone listings. Have you noticed that when you read stuff and you read a telephone listing, I get kind of annoyed after two things. Two things in a list. I generally prefer for someone to come up with one thing, not a bunch of different things. It looks like, oftentimes all it seems like...
bullet points? What do you mean by
bullet points? The river is full of, this is the wasteland, something like, or the river bank. It's got nose rags, it's got this, that, and it's got the other thing, and I'm going, okay, that's appropriate there, because that's garbage, a listing of garbage.
But, when people give a list of things ordinarily, unless it's a complete list, I don't want to hear it because it seems like garbage.
Oh, you mean how like Bob Dylan will start just listing off things?
Well, that's a different kind of thing. But Bob Dylan doesn't have something to talk about when he starts doing parallelism. So it's just, how do I fill out the song? Okay. I don't want to be with you, be seen with you. I don't want to. And it just goes on. That's pretty well the whole song. All I really want to do is, baby, be friends with you. Well, that's all he's saying. You see what I'm saying? I don't want this, I don't want that. You can say all sorts of things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Useless. You got to serve somebody. You don't serve Bob Dylan. You don't serve Cousin Hank. You don't serve. You don't serve. And rest are called Tank. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, boring. And it's not just him. Like everybody's talking about bagism, shagism, dragism, oh, all that song exists for is all we are saying is give peace a chance. It's not just Bob Dylan. It's most people when they start doing that parallelism. Allen Ginsberg kind of had a little bit of spirit when he was doing that stuff. You've seen him portrayed in a movie. Someone did a good job. I can't remember who it was. When he was younger and actually semi-good looking. Okay. The clock ticks and fades out. The bride awaiting the God's touch. No, the bride awaits the God's touch. Don't use all of these, what are they, gerunds or stuff like that, awaiting. Well, actually, it's a present participle. And it's use an actual verb, a finite verb, a verb that has a tense. You can say, I was awaiting. I was waiting the God's touch. Or I will be waiting the God's touch. See how there's no tense to it? I am waiting the God's touch. There's no tense to it. And all it does, it basically functions in many cases like an adjective. Here it's kind of like that. Or it can be like a noun, and in that case it's called a gerund. But don't do that. Don't do this at home. This is a lesson in what you don't do, because this guy is pretty well, every line is a perversion of the idea of what you're supposed to do in poetry, and even worse, of what you're supposed to do when you're writing decent prose, because this isn't poetry. But you have certain responsibilities when you're writing prose, and you don't diss the reader like Ezra Pound did. Pretty well every line. So that first line is just three things listed. Okay. Then ekbatan, the clock ticks and fades out. Is that clock an ekbatan? What? Like he's disrespecting the reader. He's got something in his mind about ekbatan. The bride awaiting the God's touch. What bride? The bride? A bride. You know what I'm saying? The bride waiting the God's touch. When you don't know what bride it is, this is the start of the canto. You say, a bride. You're disrespecting the reader. You're kind of saying, you don't know what bride? I do, and I'm so much smarter than you because I'm Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound here. How much time?
Oh, you've done.